podcast, so also a big hello to you guys who are out there. And just to kind of kick things off, we just want to say that we're really thrilled to get to meet all of you. It's really a great part of our jobs to meet students who are passionate and interested in solving the problems of the world. And so it's really great for us to get to meet all of you, even if you don't end up entering the contest this year, maybe in the future. Definitely encourage you to come and talk to us, get to know us, and we're here and we'll be around for the time you're here at school. So just to give you a quick intro of who I am. So my name is Junie. I'm a first-year master's student at the Goldman School for Public Policy, right up the hill. And so while at the Goldman School, I have a bit of a focus on international development. And the reason why I am in front of you guys today is because I've had the chance in my past life, over the past few years, to work with social entrepreneurs all around the world from the lens of being a funder. And so I got to work at a foundation, a private foundation, and also in the world of impact investing. And through that, I got to meet a ton of really cool people doing some really cool things. And what I noticed during that time was that social entrepreneurs are actually very different people. I came across a lot of people who were scientists and engineers who had come up with a solution, and they're like, man, the world really needs this. And then at the same time, I also ran across people who grew up in underserved communities, and they said, you know, I need to help the people that I grew up around. And then similarly, and I also ran into social entrepreneurs who really began their journeys as someone who was just taking vacation in, you know, an exotic country. And then what they witnessed while they were there is something that they just couldn't get out of their heads. And they were determined to stick around and try to solve the problem. So the common theme for all of these guys, and for you, I assume, because you're sitting in these seats today, is that there's something that's bugging you about the world and you have a drive to do something about it. And at least for these social entrepreneurs, it was that they were really determined and they weren't going to settle for the status quo. And I assume that you guys are all with us on that as well. So my role with the Big Ideas Contest is that I am the Innovation Ambassador, which means that I'm your point of contact for any sort of outreach or networking or any questions you might have. I can be the person who can direct you to other resources, both within our team and also on campus. So definitely look out for me. I'll have my contact information up at the end. And we also have a few other members of our team in the back, just to quickly intro. We have Philip, Adrian, and Francis. So you can feel free to ask them any questions you may have as well. We also have our wonderfully talented artist over here, Eleanor, who is adding a lot of great hearts to our wall over there. So a quick agenda for what we can expect today. We'll start with a quick intro of what Big Ideas is. We'll go over some key dates, rules, and requirements for the program. And all this information is on the website, but we're going to go over everything a little bit more in depth today. And if you have any burning questions, this is the place to raise them. I'm sure a lot of other people will have similar questions to you, so feel free to ask. It's definitely meant to be an interactive session, so you can interrupt me at any point, and I'll make sure to give you a chance to ask your question. Also, at the very end, we will reserve a little bit of time for networking, so definitely get to meet the people who are sitting around you. These are all people who also want to tackle some of the issues that you're interested in, and they very well may be people you end up partnering with and teaming with as you put together your big ideas for the contest. And so before we launch into other stuff, I thought we would start with a video to give you a quick overview of the Big Ideas Contest.
What makes an idea big?
I think what makes an idea big is that it goes outside the normal boundaries.
I think what makes an idea big is the potential for its impact in the community.
It's novel, it's unique, it's challenging, it's exciting.
The Big Ideas program seed funds and encourages student innovation for a better planet.
Undergraduate students are really recognized as producing innovative, cutting-edge ideas.
You know, it doesn't take a lot of money. It doesn't take a lot of, it doesn't take a 5-year PhD research project in order to do some of these things.
I heard about the Big Ideas program and it was brought to our attention as a group, and we thought, hey, this would be a really great opportunity to kind of get the word out about our projects and see if we can get some support.
And it ends up being much more than a grant because it gives you that confidence to go forward. The fact that there's other people in the room and other people at Cal that are reviewing this and thinking, hey, you should go for this.
Having it was like one of the best things for our project. It really got us off the ground at a point where we needed that extra inspiration.
Yeah, knowing that the campus is supporting projects like this and that you have access to these resources has been very instrumental.
Just the fact that Big Ideas existed and seemed willing to fund a project like this gave us hope because our budget for dental is actually like under $200 a semester. And we saved the residents of Berkeley like probably $50,000 to $100,000 just through the services we have.
Capitalize on the creativity of the students. Don't tell them the solution. Give them the opportunity and let them come up with creative ideas.
We should disabuse ourselves of the idea that all smarts are with the professors. Students are just as smart, they're just younger, that's all.
We created a business plan for Big Ideas. So it really gave us that push to really follow through on this and give up our investment banking and consulting offers that we had. And as soon as we got the news that we had gotten the grant, I think that's the first time we said, hey, let's give up what we were doing and let's follow our passion.
The power of the small grant is that it allows students to experiment earlier in their lives. They don't need to wait to complete a PhD and get a faculty appointment to try something new. I think that's very important. Otherwise, we waste a whole kind of generation just waiting for the credentials to do something that they have some capacity to do earlier.
What makes an idea big?
I think what makes an idea big is that it goes outside the normal boundaries and it really kind of surpasses what was already there and sets a precedent for something new.
All right, so as you guys saw from the video, the Big Ideas contest is an annual student innovation competition that provides funding support and encouragement to interdisciplinary teams of undergraduate and graduate students here at Berkeley and other participating universities. And the contest is for these teams to create innovative solutions to social problems. And so essentially we're trying to see what happens when we take students out of the classroom setting, we give them the resources they need to succeed, and then actually put them in real life situations where they're tackling some of the world's biggest problems. And the contest has been operating here at Berkeley since 2006, and since then it's expanded and now encompasses the entire UC system as well as a university that we've partnered with in Uganda. So you could say that in a way we're kind of international at this point. But really that reflects the growth of the program and just how much this kind of innovation program is important and needed at schools all around California. So luckily for you guys here at Berkeley, our central office for Big Ideas is located here within the Blum Center. So all of us on our team are your resources. You can definitely reach out to us. We can serve as advisors. We can connect you to other resources. And for those of you who are not located here at Berkeley, our team is also available to you by email. You can find us at bigideas@berkeley.edu. And then we can make the right connections with you. We can do Skype appointments, whatever it works best for you. Another point is that the contest is geared towards early stage innovations. So even if your idea is a little murky at this point, that's totally okay. We encourage you to still try and enter. At the same time, for teams that may be a little bit further along, maybe you've already been implementing some of your programs, or you've done some kind of field research already. That's totally okay too. This is an opportunity for you to kind of assess where you guys are in your journey, and hopefully the Big Ideas program is something that's still beneficial for you at this stage. So at this point, I'm going to pause really quickly. Are there any questions that have come up so far?
I actually just wanted to make one note. So one of the most common questions we get in Big Ideas is this a for-profit company we're looking for? Is this a nonprofit? Can this be a student group? And from the video you saw, you could tell that these are a lot of different kinds of projects in different stages working on different issues. But the thing that they have most in common is that they all have social impact, right? So we don't care so much about what kind of vehicle your project is coming in. We just care ultimately about your goals and your objectives.
Yeah, and so you got to see 4 examples of previous winners. There's also a packet in the back, I think maybe by the sign-in table, where there's some other, a more comprehensive list of those winners. You can also find that list online where you can see videos from many of the participating teams. But a couple other past winners that I wanted to highlight and do a quick plug. For those of us here at Berkeley, we have an event coming up next Wednesday called Innovators at Cal. So if you look over there, so Innovators at Cal will be actually an event put on by both the Big Ideas team as well as other entrepreneurship-focused centers and competitions here on campus. So it's a great opportunity to network, to hear from great speakers, also to find out about other student projects that are happening. And if you are coming and are interested in potentially pitching or having a whiteboarding session, and by whiteboarding we mean just kind of having an open-ended conversation about your idea, your project, and soliciting feedback, maybe even garnering some support or ideas for how you can continue to grow that. Definitely come up to me, Philip, Adrian, any of us to let us know afterwards.
I see a question over there.
Yes. What time on October 4th? So it should be 6 p.m. It's going to be a 2-part event. So it'll start in Banatow Auditorium, and then we'll move over here for the more kind of social activities afterwards.
So we're actually featuring 2 Big Ideas alumni at this event too. So you'll actually hear about their journey at UC Berkeley and how they started up their projects and how they use that initial seed funding to get to where they are now. And it's 2 really cool, diverse projects. One is a woman named Laura Stachel, who developed a solar suitcase that powers a lot of health clinics in developing country contexts. And the other one is a gentleman named David Breslauer, who built this company in Emeryville called Bolt Threads, and essentially using some bioengineering to develop sustainable eco-friendly synthetic fabrics. It's so complicated that I have difficulty even talking about it. So we highly encourage you to come, and as Junie mentioned, even if you don't have an idea, it's a great way to meet other people in this space working on these issues too.
Yeah, and so both
RSVP
of those
online, right?
Oh yeah, and RSVP online. That's another great point.
Yes, RSVP online.
There are only about 50 tickets left. We had 250 tickets, and we're down to last 50. So if you want to go and say RSVP probably tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah, and so both David and Laura they're really great in that they started here through Berkeley and then eventually are still running their organizations. They've seen tremendous growth in the impact that they're producing. And I guess you'll hear more about it from them at Innovators at Cal, but they're great stories to listen to. And another question we actually get often is how Big Ideas is different from other innovation competitions, both on campus and kind of around in this area. So there are two major differences. So the first is that this is a platform for early stage student-led ventures. So projects really do come in all different shapes and sizes, as you've seen. And they can be, again, as early stage as an idea that just popped into your head while you were sitting here, to others that have done some field testing and some studies. However, if you are in the later stages of maybe building your idea out, you should consider maybe if this is the exact right fit for you, and there will be more details later for you to make that determination. Or if you have any questions about, do I fit here or maybe not, then you can talk to each of us individually as well to get to an answer on that. And the second thing that makes us different, again, as Adrian mentioned, is that we're really focused on social impact. So while other innovation competitions might be focused on what kind of return on investment you might get in the future, they're really looking at kind of maximizing profit, while we're really interested in maximizing that social impact. So that's another real differentiator for this competition.
And as much as we're focused on social impact, the goals of Big Ideas are really twofold. Number one, we do want to have those projects that go on and have sort of transformative experiences in the field that really impact lives. We also, though we are at a university, we recognize that, and it's the educational process of going through Big Ideas, working through ideas, validating those ideas. That's important to the students. So, it's a great opportunity to take a risk, take a challenge on, combine something you're learning in the classroom with something you feel very passionate about, and succeed or fail in that social venture. You've learned a lot through the Big Ideas experience and through trying to launch your own social venture. So we reward that as much as we reward the impact of the project itself.
Yeah, that's very true, and that's a really good point. I think with a lot of the social entrepreneurs that I've seen in the past, a lot of them, their first venture is not the one that really kind of generates that long-term impact or large-scale impact. It's really some of the things they learned along that journey. Maybe it wasn't the right model the first time around, but they learned things. They had the networks to then apply it again in a different way and actually do what they're hoping to get done. So that's a good point. Any other questions? Okay. So here are the 4 major buckets of things that we offer students through the contest. The first thing, and of course, the thing that I think most students are first drawn to, is the fact that there is funding. Each year we have up to $300,000 to give out in terms of funding to different student groups. Through the regular proposal process, you have an opportunity to win up to $10,000, and then there's additional opportunities afterwards to get an additional $8,000 through a People's Choice video competition on Facebook, as well as a grand prize pitch day. And to give you an idea, last year the top earning team got $15,000 for their big idea.
It's important to also note that we offer up to $300,000 in funding across 45 winners last year. So there's a lot of funding that goes to a lot of people, and it's spread out. It's not winner take all.
Yeah, that's right. So the average team that was a winner last year received about $5,000 in funding. So we definitely want to make sure we fund more broadly. So if you get to that finalist stage, you have a good chance of having some seed money to get started. So that's the funding part. Of course, that's not the full story here. The skills development is also a very important piece of what we're doing. We want to give you guys the opportunity to build out your program and then connect you with the resources to actually do that. So we will be hosting writing and advising workshops. We have open office hours throughout the year. We can also help you with recruiting team members, developing a budget, drawing up an implementation plan, especially if you haven't done these activities before. And also through all of the networking events, you have an opportunity to meet some really cool people in the industries that you're looking at. And on that note, access to expertise is definitely a big aspect of the program. First, we have our partners, or our practitioners in residence program, and so these are sector experts who are available to all of you. They're actually available right now and have openings if you want to make appointments with them. And so as much as Adrian, Phillip, Francis, and I might know about the space, these guys are sector experts. They really understand some of the issues at hand, and so they're available for you to tap their expertise.
I'm just going to make an extra plug for those PIRs. So it's really rare where you get 30-minute consultation opportunities with some people who have like 10 plus years of experience, right? So the first gentleman we have coming is named Michael Kleinman. He used to head Humanity United, which is like a human rights foundation. They do a lot of awards to human rights focused projects. But he's doing his own mobile tech startup now. So I encourage you to just Google him or go to our website, go to Big Ideas, and then look at resources and look at the list of PIRs. We also have a woman who has a lot of experience with global health clinics, so doing micro clinics around the world, and another one with impact investing as well.
Yeah, and then another place or another opportunity where you'll be able to receive feedback from experts is in the pre-proposal process. Your pre-proposals will be judged by both experts in the field and also kind of functional experts as well. So people who may have a background in finance to look at your budget, or someone who may be good at developing implementation plans. So getting that kind of detailed, targeted feedback is a big benefit. And then if you get past the pre-proposal stage, you will be paired with a mentor of your choosing. And that's also a great opportunity to work closely with somebody who has a lot of experience in the space. And then finally, exposure and validation that comes with being a participant in Big Ideas. And if you get to being a winner, you'll also have that as a platform to really further the growth of your project. We found that Big Ideas often leads to additional accelerators or awards and accolades in the future, as well as some of the media attention that you get from it. Philip, if you wanted, could you mention about the tableau?
Yeah, so last year, our grand prize winner from Pitch Day and the winner in the Hardware for Good category, it was a joint team of UCSF, UC Berkeley students called Tabla. They created this hardware, a pneumonia detection device. And so they went through Pitch Day, they got a lot of exposure through that. They won the Hardware for Good category, got exposure from that. Just last week, Fast Company named them one of the 2017 Innovations of the Year. They were profiled on the homepage of the Berkeley website this past week, and they're really off and running at this point. They have a lot of sort of excitement from various accelerators and incubators in the area, and it's a team that just literally this time last year was right where you are right now.
Yeah, so again, while a lot of people are first drawn to the funding aspect, the funding is really just a small piece of all the things you'll get from participating in the program. We've had a lot of students at the end of the year of working with us tell us that really those access to those networks and that validation was really important to them and gave them the confidence to keep going on. So here are the 8 categories that we have this year for Big Ideas. And in the back, there are some more category-specific handouts as well, if you want to find out more about each of those. So our 8 categories, and actually the categories do change every year. So the ones we have this year are art and social change, connected communities, energy and resource alternatives, food systems, global health, hardware for good, and workforce education and development. And then we also have a scaling up Big Ideas category that is specific to previous winners of Big Ideas. So they have a different set of requirements. But within these categories, you might find that the idea that you have in mind actually potentially fits into multiple categories, and that's actually perfectly normal. You may be developing a mobile app to look at food waste, and then that could fit into both connected communities. It could connect to food systems. It could connect to global health even. And so definitely look a little bit more deeply into what each of the categories are to get a sense of which one you feel most applies to you. The reason we mention that is because when you do apply, we will ask that you only apply to one category with each of the ideas that you submit.
And this is the most common question we get through Big Ideas when teams come into us for advising, which category should I apply to? So I would encourage you to really look at the category of prompts, decide sort of where your project is most innovative. Is it most innovative on the IT component? Is it more innovative in the food aspect? But last and certainly not least, come in and visit us during our advising hours. And you can find our advising hours on our website under the resources tab. Adrian, myself, Junie all have advising hours up on the site right now. So take advantage of that if you want.
And then before we go into rules and eligibility criteria, do we have any questions about more general aspects of the program? Yes.
In terms of acceptance into categories, do you usually take 1 or 2 per category, or does it not matter?
I can answer that.
Yeah, sure.
So the goal every year is to fund as many viable proposals as the judges deem to be viable. So we really look at the amount of funding we have in each category, and it ranges anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 in funding per category. And then we look at sort of the judging scores on each of the projects and decide sort of which ones are the most viable, and we try and parcel out funding to each of those projects. So not a perfect science, but typically the top team in a category will get the $10,000 award, and then we'll look to see how much funding we have left and how many viable projects are left, and we'll begin to divvy up funding based on second, third, and honorable mention.
Yep, over there.
So you said that some of the projects can span into multiple categories. So when it comes to evaluation by the judges, will they be evaluating under one category that we eventually have to pick? So let's say I have a project that spans from global health to and for hardware for good. So would they only evaluate in one category, or would they evaluate it for both?
Yeah, so in that case, if you did submit for the global health category, I mean, at the end of kind of looking at the different categories, let's say you chose to submit there, the judges will be looking at the fit with that particular category.
Okay, so we do have to pick one at the end of it.
Yes, and that being said, we actually have a lot of student teams. In the past, they have applied, or they've submitted multiple ideas, and they can send those into different categories, or sometimes we've even seen them send multiple ideas to the same category, just to kind of give themselves more shots. Again, at the same time, that does mean that you're kind of competing against yourself if you're, applying to more than, or doing more in one category.
But yeah, just to sort of answer that question again, judges are assigned to one particular category. So you have judges in hardware for good, you have judges in global health. If you decide to apply, you're going to have one pool of judges looking at your proposal. So again, it comes back to, where do you deem your project to be most innovative? Is it on the hardware design, or is it more on sort of the health program around it? And if you think it's more on the hardware side, I'd be looking at that. But again, come in and talk to us during advising hours or after this.
Yeah.
Who are the judges?
Yeah. Francis, maybe that's a good question for you to take.
Francis is our judge and mentor coordinator.
Yeah, so the judges are a mix of faculty here and on other UC campuses, as well as industry experts from really all over. So these are people who generally have, let's say, 7 to 50 years of experience.
50.
And yeah, they're people in each category who have specific expertise on those issues, but we also have more, like Junie mentioned, more cross-cutting people who have maybe a business model background and can evaluate a program through that lens.
Yeah, so when we're looking at categories, we try and put a pool of judges in there who are, number one, sector experts, and number two, have specific skill sets, whether it be business plan development, supply chain management, organizational design, so that you get a more holistic approach towards that category.
Yeah, and so our pool ends up being about 350 judges every year, so it's quite a few people that we bring in for this contest. Cool. So, getting down a little bit into the nitty-gritty. So there, all the rules are, again, on our website and in the trifold handouts that you guys got in the back. But I'll hit on some of the major points here. So first of all, there's no limit to how many people that can be on your team. That's a question we get often. It can be just you, or it could be many more people than just you. We found that most teams typically average about 3 people per team. And I guess there are a lot of reasons for that in terms of kind of division of labor and division of different skill sets. And so that's what we found has been the average. Of course, we also understand that each project is different. If you're a project where you're the only person who's really located here, but you have some people who are doing field work for you somewhere else, that's a different story. And that's all stuff we'd want to know about. But we understand that there are different types of teams. The main team point of contact is the person who is going to be the project lead, so the person who will be submitting. And so the project lead actually has to be a matriculated student at an eligible campus. So other team members can be non-students, and so you can tap faculty, staff, kind of other people, other partners that might be out there. But we definitely want to make sure that you are kind of the idea generator. It's student-led, student-initiated. So things that we unfortunately wouldn't count would be something like a faculty project where you're the research assistant. So nothing like that. Right, so be friends with your team, So let's see. And each idea we mentioned earlier can be submitted to as an application to only one category. And again, as Philip mentioned, if you have any questions on where yours might fit the best, feel free to come and talk to us about that. And then finally, please keep in mind that if you are a scaling up team, then you have a completely different set of rules and requirements that are all available online. And so here is our timeline for the year. And one thing that I didn't mention earlier is that the entire Big Ideas contest is actually runs the full academic year. There are 2 major parts of it. The first part is the pre-proposal stage, and the second part being the full proposal stage. So at this point, we're in the pre-proposal, which is a 3-page expression of your idea and a communication to the judges that you have a good understanding of the problem you're trying to solve and how you might go about doing it. And then the full proposal will be a more fleshed out version of your pre-proposal. So that would be eventually a 10 to 15 page document. And we'll be looking for many more details and many more kind of implementation details at that point. So getting into the pre-proposal, at this point, September and October, it's mainly more about us providing you guys with information, and this is an opportunity for you guys to start thinking and generating that idea and maybe creating the teams that you'll eventually be working with. So we have info sessions like today. We'll also have networking events like Innovators at Cal. We will also have writing workshops where you can come in and get some advice from us about how you might go about writing your pre-proposals. And all of these things will be streamed online for those of us, for those of you guys who are joining us remotely. November 15th is the important date to note here in red. That is when the pre-proposal will be due at noon that day. And you'll also notice that we've set aside November 13th and 14th as an editing blitz for those of you guys who want some kind of last-second review from us, and we'll be around and available during that time to help you with your proposal.
And all of these events are extracurricular. You attend if you want to attend. You can take advantage of them as you like. We do find that the teams who we see more regularly tend to do better in the contest, but that is entirely up to you based upon your schedule and how much support you need. So take advantage of it if you'd like to, but it's not compulsory.
Also, don't wait until the editing blitz to get a first read from our team on your proposal. We have teams coming in with proposals already. So the earlier you can get a head start on it, the better, and we'll read it as many times and provide you as much feedback.
And if you do wait, just know our advising hours book up as we get closer and closer to the deadline. So if you're waiting until the beginning of November, it's going to be very hard to get advising appointments. Right now, it's very flexible.
Yeah, and so we are available for advising hours kind of throughout this whole period and actually throughout the year. And this is probably a lighter time for us in terms of advising because it's not right up before the deadline. So definitely encourage you to talk to us at any time. And for those of you guys who are remote, you can make Skype appointments as well through our website. So you can find that information there. And you'll also find out about kind of our advising hours. But if at any point this is all too much information, you don't know what to do, but you want to talk to someone, email us at bigideas@berkeley.edu. So then after you submit in November, it will go through a judging process where a panel of judges will review your entry and then they'll score you and provide detailed feedback. Based on those scores, teams that move on will be notified in December. And as Francis mentioned, the judges is a group of people who are kind of sector experts as well as kind of more functional experts as well. And to give you an idea, last year we had 326 pre-proposals come through, of which 55 became finalists. And then from those 55 finalists, there were 45 winners at the end of the day. So any questions on the pre-proposal? Okay. Moving on to the full proposal stage. So what will happen here is if you're a finalist, you will fill out a mentor request form where you indicate the specific needs and the types of people you want to be working with. So this request can be as narrow or as broad as you want it to be. For example, it can be as narrow as you want a biomedical engineer with clinical experience working with pediatric patients with immunodeficiencies in India. Right? It could be that specific, or it could be something much more general where you're talking about, I'm interested in working with somebody who understands food systems and is good with community partnerships. So it's very much up to you at that point, but we'll make sure to pair you with that person who will then help you to build out your idea and your business plan going forward to get to the full proposal stage. And so that'll be about 6 to 7 weeks of you working with that mentor until the deadline of March 7th. And then at that point, there will be final judging. And during that time period, there will also be that People's Choice video contest that I was mentioning earlier, as well as our grand prize pitch day for top teams to pitch before a panel of judges.
And the People's Choice Video Contest is open to anybody who submits a pre-proposal application, regardless of whether you are a finalist or not. So it's sort of a way for us to check if maybe an idea got overlooked in the pre-proposal process, just didn't convey on paper as well, but also an opportunity for anyone to submit video.
Yeah, and then winners will be announced in April, followed by celebrations in May. So any questions on the full proposal process or the pre-proposal? Any of this timeline? Okay. Oh, yeah.
If someone doesn't become a finalist or earn their spot as a finalist, but they win the People's Choice Video Contest, if they don't become finalists but they win the People's Choice Video Contest, would they be able to return back to the contest to be a part of the full proposal?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
We have had teams that have won the video contest that were not finalists and not winners. So that's certainly happened. We've never had them try to reapply, but yes, I think by all means they could win the video contest and reapply the next year with their proposal.
You can also reapply if you're a finalist. It's just any team that didn't get funding. So even if you went through the final round and you didn't get money,
So we'll provide more details about this on our website. So we actually have 3 examples of previous pre-proposals up there, so that might be helpful for you. But we'll also have some writing workshops coming up in the coming weeks where you can find out a little bit more details about some of the best practices and maybe things to not do as well during your proposal process. But generally, we'll just go over some of the main points here. So the actual format is sort of up to you. These are the areas we want you to address, but you can change the headers, you can change the way you organize the structure of it. Basically, we want you to tell us your story in the best way possible. The only thing we do require is that you do cover these topics here, and that it is within 3 pages, 1,600 words. But again, everything else is kind of flexible. So the problem statement is really your opportunity to show us that you understand the problem at hand. So maybe this includes doing some in-depth research, getting into some of the research and statistics that might be out there about the issue. So just really show us that you get what you're working on. And then second, existing solutions is really looking at what's already out there from not only other competing businesses, but maybe it's even governments or maybe it's other types of organizations that are trying to tackle the same problems that you're trying to tackle. And where applicable, try to note where there are limitations in some of those other models that are out there, as well as highlighting areas where they might be doing really well. And so there are things to replicate from existing efforts. And we really want to stress that this section is important because this commonly is the weakest section for most of the applicants. And that comes up because you may think that there's no one doing something exactly the way you're doing it. And even if that is true, that doesn't mean that you're the only person trying to address that problem. So we want you to show us your understanding of what's already out there. And one of the things that judges can really, the first thing that will make a judge, or that will make you lose a judge, is that if you don't demonstrate to them that you really get the problem at hand and that they know more than you do about the issue. So this is an issue you're supposed to care deeply about. You should know more than anybody else. So 3, the proposed innovation. This is where you tell us about what the innovation is and how you're going to go about implementing it. So we both want to know about what's your grand vision for what you're trying to create, both the actual innovation as well as the impact. And then also over the course of the year, what are the steps you're going to take to make that into a reality? And then last is the team bios. As we mentioned, your team can be as many or as few people as you want. It's perfectly normal at this stage to not know who will be a part of your team, but we definitely encourage you to start reaching out and start thinking about who you might want to have on your team, whether it's people or different functions and roles. So at the pre-proposal stage, we will be open to you submitting a team where you don't have the exact people identified, but we want to know who those people are that you think you will need for the project, as well as what your plan for bringing that person on would be. So maybe it's something like, I need to do a field test, but that's not going to happen until March, so I'm going to look for someone in January or February. And so that's totally okay. We just want to know that you have an understanding of what the needs are, and we want to be sure that you're being realistic about how you're going to approach the problem. Yes?
If you don't make it past the proposal stage, or if you do become a finalist but you don't receive funding, do you receive feedback on your project so that you can later apply?
Yeah, definitely. Did you want to?
That great question. And we do, so in the pre-proposal process and in the final round, we have judges score on just a very few number of proposals. We give them maximum 6 to 8 proposals to read so that they can give substantive qualitative feedback on each proposal they read. Some judges will go on for pages, some judges will give a paragraph, but we have probably 8 to 10 judges reading each proposal, and so you get all that qualitative feedback immediately after the pre-proposal round. So that's an important point because we want there to be takeaways for finalists and non-finalists. We want students to get the skills development, but also to get the feedback from that first round. Very important point.
Right, and I think we also like to think that our engagement with the students doesn't end right when you maybe don't make it past a certain round. We're always available. You can keep coming back to us for advising. You can connect to a lot of the mentors that we have and the networks that we have here.
And last year we had at least a dozen teams apply that hadn't made the final round the previous year.
And then last point on the team bios, we will, however, by the time the full proposal comes around, ask you to have a better idea of who your team is going to be at that point. So here is the judging criteria for the pre-proposal stage. The first thing you'll notice here is that innovation is the largest chunk here, and by innovation, we're really talking about the creation, your idea specifically. And so this could be either a brand new thing that you came up with, no other help or anything. It's just all you. But it could also be you taking what already exists and improving it or applying it in a better way to serve the population or the issue that you're trying to serve. And so the reason why we have such a high weighting on that at this stage is to encourage people to really focus on the idea. And we wanted to leave it open for those who maybe not have had as much of an opportunity to do or time to really implement their projects yet, and so we don't want to hold that against you. That being said, so this is, again, just the judging criteria for the pre-proposal. By the time it gets to the full proposal stage, the pie kind of shifts around so that viability becomes the most heavily weighted category, and at that point, we're really looking for, you've demonstrated that you have a great idea, now show us that you know how to do it, and that you can, and that we can have confidence that you're going to be able to do that. So any questions on that so far? The average passing percentage? So yeah, from pre-proposal to, so last year there were 326 pre-proposals that we looked at, and then 55 moved on to the finalist stage from here. Oh.
Did you mean what percentage did? It varies. It varies from category to category. We were in some years judges are harder than other years. So we really look at sort of the overall scoring in a particular category and then determine where that sort of break is between, the proposals that rank at the top and the ones that don't. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Is there another question? Okay. All right, cool. I realize it is 7 o'clock and that we've kept you guys here for a little while. Here is our contact information. Again, I'm Junie, that was Philip, Adrian, and Francis in the back. If you ever have any questions, definitely check out our website, bigideas.berkeley.edu and bigideas@berkeley.edu, so you can email us if anything ever comes up, or if you just want to talk to us, which we're more than happy to do. And before we all break, just one last thing. We have a great opportunity here to talk to your fellow innovators around you. So just make sure to introduce yourself to the people you were sitting nearby, and hopefully we'll get to see you at future events.
So October 4th, Innovators at Cal. Definitely encourage everyone to attend. November 15th, Big Ideas deadline. 2 big dates.
Yes.
Thanks.
All right, great. Thank you, and thanks for everyone who joining us remotely.